Hello and welcome to Bong Table. I'm Mass, and this is another battle report. Today we have 100 Kingdoms versus Old Dominion. I have brought a new list to play instead of the old Steel Legion and Crimson Towers, but if you really like Steel Legion, I didn't get rid of them because I also like them a lot too. But I call this list the Priest, the Mage, and the Imperial Officer, which is a rip on the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I'm actually quite enjoying this list. This video is the first game I've had with it, and I was actually really surprised about a bit of my theory crafting and ideas I wanted to do to be relevant on the changes to scenario, where scoring happens much earlier on turn 2, and also threat and objective. So a main idea behind my list is I want as much things as possible to score. So that's putting medium characters into lights or light characters into mediums. So I have a lot of opportunities there to get scoring and to just look at scenario. Another reason I built this list is because I wanted to get more of a handle on magic in the game. So I brought 4 wizards, effectively, like 2 priests and 2 mages. With that, to kind of support them, because their warbands aren't really tanky or heavy, I also brought the Imperial Officer because his supremacy is really good with Vanguard, because I'm running an entire infantry list, and I want those 2 units of Steel Legion in there because they just do so much work for me every time I play them. This list is in Dynastic Alliance because I want to run the Theist Priest as my Dynastic Alliance Warlord, because I wanted to see what Divine Sanction, what gives you +1 cleave and deadly blades, to the unit. Well, it's to the character, but then it affects like all the units who have Devout. So I put Devout onto as much as I could, and then I ran from there. So I'm going to go with the list a bit more detail, but that's kind of like the general idea. And as you watch the Valor Report and see the game, you'll see how this turns out, and I think it did very well for a lot of just like theory crafting and ideas and how I wanted to play, and like what the current scenario packet is to play into the most broad things available. Because a lot of times at tournaments, I don't know what the scenario is ahead of time or anything like that. We just kind of get thrown into it. So I gotta have a very generalist approach to it. All right, so Imperial Officer, rapid deployment. That's the Vanguard I was talking about for the supremacy ability. Allows you to get a free march onto the table. This is really good, I've been finding, for 100 Kingdoms. Like, having your infantry march 3 times really allows you to get that early board presence, start threat projecting, and kind of puts your opponent on a bit of a back foot on what they want to do and how they want to do it. He is also my Turn the Tide character. I don't like Turn the Tide is really good when you want, like, for me, and what I've found is when you want like a character to duel or someone, like, I want to get my unit in and then I want to duel, and like using Turn the Tide for that is really good. Or maybe you want something nearby to activate first because it's like an out of sequence draw event. But I haven't really used it that much. I just kind of like place my cards right, quotes. Like, and by that I mean like I kind of stack my command deck kind of roughly how I want it when I play my games. Like, usually there's something very early on that I need to do, and so I just put that card to the top, and then it's like I kind of do like a little bit of a hierarchy of like what needs to go first, what needs to go second, what needs to go third, and then from there after that it's usually just like whatever. Like, it doesn't matter super much. So if I don't make the correct choice at that time, it isn't as vital as like the first 3 draws. For Heirlooms on the Imperial Officer, we're running the Armored Dominion, getting rid of that Cleave and Smite on stands that are in contact with him. Still really powerful, still really good. I didn't bring the Banner of Steel. Instead, I brought the Mantle of St. Nicholas. This gives Devout to the Imperial Officer, but it will also give Devout to his unit. This will tie in really effectively when I'm trying to put spells from the Theist Priest onto the Imperial's Officer Steel Legion unit, like the Divine Sanction I mentioned earlier with that +1 Cleave and Deadly Blades. So Steel Legion going to Cleave 2 and having Deadly Blades is really, really good. And I have a second Theist Priest in this list who will then cast Blessed onto the Warlord Theist Priest to give +1 Cleave, Deadly Blades, and Blessed for those reroll attack rolls or defensive rolls, whatever I want. So that's a really good power turn, and that's kind of like the big turn I want to have to get rid of a ton of my opponent's really heavy, really frightening stuff. He also has Drill 1 and Drill 2. This is Double Time and Bastion. For melee, like if you're building your Imperial Officer for melee, these are kind of your go-tos because Murderous Volley and Fire in Advance are not going to affect them at all. However, Double Time and Fire in Advance on a range unit is kind of funny because you can just march, shoot, march, march. What's like really funny, and then also if you get like fluid formation, if you're taking Imperial Ranger Corps, you can reform, so you can still see the enemy. Like you could basically reform away because you have fluid formation, so you shoot behind you, and then shoot behind you. Reform so they're behind you, march, shoot, free march, march, and you can like display super far and just kind of like do this weird hit and run with the Imperial Ranger Corps, and it's kind of funny. So, just spilling all the beans on the high tech stuff, and I haven't even got through the Imperial Officer, what he's doing. For his masteries, he's got Disorienting Strikes here. That's just -1 clash in a duel. I took this because I had 10 points left over, and I had nowhere to really put it. I could have bought a banner for like my unit of Merc crossbows, but I kind of didn't really want to, so I just took this mastery because it's 10 points. I was like, well, if he ever gets into a duel, it's -1 to attack, so maybe he'll live. In his warband, he's got his 2 Merc crossbows here. They got just leader, no banner, no nothing. They're just there to shoot, nothing too crazy. Then he has his 2 units of Steel Legion. There's a big 6 block of Steel Legion that he's going to be going into, and then there's this 5 block of Steel Legion. My plan with this list is to get the Warlord Theist Priest actually into this unit of Steel Legion, like Seek New Escort into it, so that he can apply like Blessed and Divine Sanction and also be in just a tankier unit, because what the Theist Priests are currently in are just Militia Bowmen, and they just have Standard Bearers. For my first Theist Priest, he's the Dynastic Alliance Warlord, and he has Arcane 1 through 3. So he's a +1 wizard level. Scaling is like he counts 2 less scans for scaling, and he gets to do a reroll or count a failed as a success. So that's kind of nice. He's just in a base unit of Militia Bowmen who have a Standard Bearer. While he is in this Militia Bowman unit, because he has Devout, the unit also gets Devout. So that's kind of fun when you want to just like put stuff on people. Second Theist Priest, a little bit different here. He has the Glimmer of Faith, what allows you to hit a Devout unit with your spells, ignoring range and line of sight. And the reason why I put it on the second Theist Priest, not the main Theist Priest, is because I want both priests supporting different ends of the table. Because this list is very asymmetrical, because I just have doubles of everything, I can basically just like push through on both sides. And if I really want to get that wombo combo off that I mentioned earlier, the Divine Sanction and Blessed, I somehow need to get the 2 Theist Priests to be beside each other. Well, with Glimmer of Faith, I no longer have to do that because they no longer have to deal with line of sight and range of the spell. And also, he's in the thing of Militia Bowmen as a Standard Bearer. The reason I took Standard Bearers on these Militia Bowmen is because the Theist Priests are in there, and I want them to be moving around more, so I can get those Seek New Escorts, so I can start moving those guys around. Their positioning matters more than the Merc crossbow positioning, who I am going to be using to just like set up and shoot at, and then, you know, get charged or whatever. Like, they're gonna eventually die. The Militia Bowmen, like, once I get the priests out of there, like, they Seek New Escorts, like, the Militia Bowmen can just die because they're Militia Bowmen. No one cares about them. They have no families. And finally, I have 2 Chapter Mages and 2 units of Men-at-Arms who are decked out the exact same. Chapter Mages are in School of Fire. This is very much me just like, I want to cast Fireball, and I just, you know, whipping out Fireballs. They're in RK 1, so they just go to Wizard 6. That's it. And I got 2 of them. My Men-at-Arms, they're in 4 blocks, and they have a Stand Bearer and Neophyte. Neophyte making them Devout. Putting that +1 Cleave and Deadly Blades and Blessed on the Men-at-Arms actually, like, allows them to pack a bit of a punch, and it's kind of nice. And as I've talked about earlier, like, putting the light characters into the medium unit so that if the Men-at-Arms are just sitting on his own scoring, the Chapter Mage can still support by Men-at-Arms activate, take aim, shoot with the Chapter Mage. Chapter Mage activates, fire off a fire dart. Cool, there's some extra chip damage. The Theist Priests are mediums, they're sitting in lights. The Theist Priest stand gets onto objective, scores points. Like, I'm heavily looking at scoring and just getting the much as I can to score as possible, while having a good ranged output with support buffs from the priests, and just using like a lot more range use in general. But while also having the Steel Legion here to just like pack a good punch once those lines crash, and I have a follow up, and I'm not just like it's not like that opening salvo of skirmishing. Like, I could be really powerful skirmishing, but once my opponent gets to me, I need that hard hitting hammer, and that's what the Steel Legion provide for this list. I'm just gonna scroll down now and just kind of like go through the special rules. You can just pause the video and have a look at them, to see if you want to read on anything particular. Okay, my opponent I'm playing today is Old Dominion. He's running an Archimandrite and Hero Deacon. There we go. I'm not like super familiar with OD, like as much as I am with 100 Kingdoms and maybe a bit of Waldrune, but I am more familiar with OD than I am with Spires or Nords. But for Nords, it's very like, they're gonna come and hit me, and then they explode because they have no defensive capabilities. So yeah. But the things I do have trouble with are basically the wizard characters. Like, what is the Archimandrite doing? What are his spells? And what is the Hero Deacon? And what are his spells? And one of the things I go over very early on with my opponent is, what are they doing? Because I don't understand them as well as I do, let's say, Legionnaires. Legionnaires are very like, they're just men at arms, really. Like, 4 attacks, 4 wounds, clash 2, their defense 1 with the shields, but then they also have the memories for a phalanx. Like, they get up to being men at arms. They have terrifying 1, but this entire thing is like terrifying 1, and they don't take resolve. So I'm not worried about that. Legionnaires. Oh, these are Legionnaires. Where is it? Praetorians? Yeah, Praetorians are just like better men at arms, even though they have 5 attacks and 5 wounds. Like, it. And the bone golems are just like, we're some big brutes, and the Varangian Guard are like, we're just better Steel Legion. Like, that stuff I understand very well. It's the casters I don't understand, and also how exactly Dark Power works. Like, my opponent explains it to me, and I watch him. He has like a big D20 he like clicks off, and then he wrote on what point like he goes up into his like tier 2 and tier 3 to gain all his abilities and draw events. So that's like really nice to see. And also have from your opponent just like a big D20, and he's like click click click. But let's go over the Archimandrite. He is a priest 7 because he has arcane 1, 2, and 3. He has his blasphemous power, dark immolation, has a touch on holy blasphemy. So if I recall correctly, one of these spells, I'm not gonna be able to tell you which one, heals units, and one of these spells kills people. that's like the big one, I know. His Scholar Profane Supremacy allows him to do double spells. What he does use very well to just like obliterate some stuff, heal up the Varangian Guard, heal up the Bone Golems. Like, he does use this very well. Concentrate Mire. Let's go have a look what that does. Maybe C. Where is it? It's not here. There's Decay. There's C's. Okay. The character's hands gain the Priest plus X special, where X is the empowerment tier of Dark Power pool. Oh, that's fantastic. So he can be what, like a Wizard 9? He's 7 plus 3. He can be a Wizard 10. Like, oh, that's really mean. Oh, he does use this. I do recall him using this. He rolled like a buttload of dice, and it was just like, wow, that entire unit just died. Let's talk about his warband. He has 2 units of Legionnaires. He has a 3 block with the Icon Bearer. The Icon Bearer, once this unit dies, he gains an extra Dark Power point. That's really nice, and it's really nice to kind of just like run up with that unit to be sacrificed 2 die to set yourself up for something else, and you're getting more for it. He has this 4 block of Legionnaires, what his Archimandrite actually sits in. He has the melee Moors, well, just like the Cures and the Moors, and this is the melee one with the Moors. He didn't cast any of his spells. I don't exactly know what these do, but he didn't do any. But they're really mean in melee, like 6 attacks. They can be Clash 2. Hit Memory Resolve for Cleave 1, like, oh, it's going to be really mean. And then he has the Bone Golems here, and they're very effective of just getting into a brawl and just beating shit to death. His Hero Deacon, he was using the Hero Deacon as mostly like a Dark Power pool farmer, or sorry, Dark Power dark power farmer, where he would just cast his spell, would kill a stand to get a point, and then he has this Blasphemous, so like as he's on the table, you gain another dark power point. So he's really trying to push that dark power points as quickly as possible. Comboing that with the Archimandrite, you can kill and then heal your stands, and so you can just have that farm going, even if you're not getting into those fights early on, or if your opponent isn't committing and trying to like wipe out a unit and not like trickle damage you, you can still farm your dark power points that way. He's just sitting into a 4 block of Legionnaires. And yeah. Also, evasion like 1 or 2. Oh, look, they're evasion 2. Like a lot of evasion 1 on basically everything that's undead, just to show off like their sturdiness and that they're like, you stab the guy through the heart. Well, he's undead. He doesn't have a heart, so he's gonna live. In his last warband, he has the Auxiliar, who has the Aberrant Armor. This gives Tenacious to the entire regiment that he's in, so you get to just make a successful save. That's really nice. And Skulfnug. That thing, I believe that gives him like deadly blades. Actually, let's just go scroll down to find out what that exactly does. Here we go. Regiment, the character's currently statue gains Linebreaker. In addition, the character stands gains Cleave +1. So that's really good. I brought a bunch of shield stuff with the Men-at-Arms, so he just gets to ignore that straight up. His character is Cleave 2. Yay! Gladiator's the big one. That's the one that gives them all the special abilities. Or special rules. Let's go find Gladiator. There we go. Flurry, Deadly Blades, and Parry. That's really good on him. I believe he's like a high base Clash 4 base. That's really good. With 6 attacks. Ooh. Not very high defense at defense 2, so he will go down, but he's going to do a lot of damage. His warband, also he's running combat 1 through 3. So he's kind of buffing it up there. His warband, he's running the Praetorian Guard. Good wounds, good attacks. Not a very high clash. So you got to watch out for that. But he is going to get Bastion 1. They do have a shield, so they're going to be like defense 4. A very good tanky unit. And then followed up by that, he has the Varangian Guard. What I've mentioned is Old Dominion's version of Steel Legion. Except they have Hardened 1, so they get to stay around with their defense of 3 a little more. Terrifying ones really mean on these guys because they're Cleave 2 base, and if they activate their Memory's Old, they get to go to Cleave 3. That's really good. They have 4 attacks each, so they're less attacks, but they're also 6 wounds. So they can take a bit more of a hit, but they can also deal damage back really well. However, they're not going to be doing a ton of attacks. They're just doing the regular amount. With that, I'm just going to go through the rules and like slowly scroll through them as I did with 100 Kingdoms, so you can just have a look and see what's going on. Okay, let's go see our scenario. Today we played Scenario 12, Grind Them Down. This is a very fighty and aggressive scenario, just because you gain points for killing enemy regiments, and you gain points for killing characters as well as warlords. So it incentivizes a lot of just straight up fighting and killing. However, if you don't come forward to do the killing, your opponent can win on the objectives, because you have you get 2 points for every 6 inch, and there's 4 of them around the table. And if you control 2 or more, you'll get another 2 points. So this right here for both sides of the table are very strong to get and very easy to get. In this game, I will put a caveat. My opponent and I did play this wrong because we didn't realize that it was hammer and anvil style deployment. Except we just still played the game anyway because we were told after turn 1 and it already had stuff on the table. And we kind of just shrugged and said, all right, let's do this. Would that change the result and how you play this scenario? Not really. I don't believe so. Because even though you're getting into those scenarios later on, because it's going to, like, each of these squares is a foot. So that's, what's that? 18 inches. And instead of just like a 12, like you can still get in there by turn 2. It's like if you're running 10 each turn, that's 20. So you'll just be like right here. And then you just do that with 2 units. Like, you could still get there and start scoring those zones to get those 2 points. Playing at Hammer and Anvil, though, they are kind of further back, but you're kind of just like using it to tie your opponent at that point, and then really fight over this middle zone, which gives you 3 points. So if you control 3 out of the 5 scenario elements, you're winning. And if you hold, you're just going to be winning. The way your opponent catches up is by killing the Warlord, killing characters, and killing 2 regiments to score points. I don't mind this scenario at all. I know we played it wrong because we deployed this way and this way, but I still like it a lot. It's actually like pretty good and I think well thought of. And really incentivizes a brawl and like killing stuff. So your faction is very good at killing things, Ladroon, Nords, stuff like that. You're gonna have a good time on the scenario. And if you can like set it up so that you're scoring the back ones and like just fighting over this middle one, and you're very offensively capable, you could just win through points that way. Let's go have a look at the table setup. So this is the terrain on the table I played. You can see here, there's a zone, there's a zone, there's a zone, there's a zone, and then of course the big zone. Like that's really easy to see. I would like to actually know if we could get neoprene maps similar to this 12-inch zone in the middle for like little sixers, because it makes it so much easier. Instead of trying to like find the middle of this dot and like measuring, you can just like, the stand is in the zone, the stand is in the neoprene, and it works really well. So if anyone knows where you can get like 6-inch zones for a diameter, post in the comments, let me know. I'd really appreciate that. Get some for the store. We have a bunch of size 3 obstructions. So we got this guy over here, that guy, that guy, that guy. Then we have 2 hills, as you can see right there. That guy and that guy. The hills are just going to give you +1 size. So if you're size 1, you'd be size 2 and be able to see over size 1 things. So where they're positioned, it'd be like good for a shooting unit to get there to then shoot over stuff or behind it if there's like a fight going on here or a fight going on here. And then we have these 2 water features. If half or more of your stands are in them, you suffer -1 clash. This could be kind of nice because let's say you come up, you establish in the middle, your opponent comes up and like has a fight over here, wins it, but then loses the fight in the middle, so they then just move this way. But now half their stands are in the water, so you just like swing around and fight them here, trying to keeping them out of the zone, but also in the water for that advantage. That's really good. But for this board setup, there is like a really good gap, like right here basically for both players. Like they can get into the middle zone very easily. There is a lane for both players basically from this zone and basically from this zone. Like this was kind of split into 3 lanes, and the terrain didn't really matter much for it, because everything just kind of walked around it. I did have a little bit of an issue kind of like here, but it was really just like I rotate my I wheel my unit around a little bit and then just go from there, and it was like fine. So but yeah, it was kind of very laney, and the terrain just really kind of dictated our paths, but also we were aiming for those paths anyway because they are the shortest distance to the scenario. Let's go have a look at turn 1. Welcome to the end of turn 1. I auto-opted in to get my 1 unit of Merc crossbows because I don't really want to deploy my Theist priest yet, because I want to kind of see how the battle goes a little bit, and I want to, as I mentioned before during my list discussion, I want to seek new escort of the Warlord Theist priest into a unit of Steel Legion. So I want to, set up those lines, figure out where he needs to be, and then go from there. If you notice this Noble Lord card, I only had 1 Theist Priest card, so he was just my stand-in for my second Theist Priest. But I got my Merc crossbows. I rolled my my 3 other dice for my 3 other lights, my 2 militia bowmen and my other Merc crossbow. I got 2 of them, so I brought in the other Merc crossbow, and then I brought in the militia bowman. He only has 1 light. What's the Moors? They auto come in, so I think I won the first. I drew my character card. He auto brings on the Morris. I then bring I think I bring out my militia bowman. I leave a bit of a gap here because I'm gonna auto get in my one of my men-at-arm units next turn. And I'd rather have them over top of the militia bowman and being up front more, so that allows my Theist priest back here to buff that unit and have these militia bowmen maybe shoot at some stuff off to the side if there's a gap or something, or move over. Also, the men-at-arms can score this, the militia bowman and Theist priest can also score that. Well, basically just him, but I'm putting multiple ways to score that zone early on. My 2 Merc crossbow units across from here, they are very much set up to just shoot into this Morris unit, who my opponent ran up here and was basically like, well, I gotta do something with them because I have Vanguard. I'm very far up the table, as you can see, comparatively, and I'm starting to put that objective pressure on. He knows that eventually I'm going to put some bigger stuff into this middle zone to start claiming it. And he kind of feels like he's on the back foot. And with that, that's the end of turn 1. Let's go have a look at turn 2. Here we are at the end of turn 2. My opponent automatically gets in his Hero Deacon and his, Legionnaires. He rolled for the rest of them. They're on a 2 down, and he got none of them. So really, I'm just fighting a Hero Deacon and a bunch of Legionnaires and a bunch of Morris who are having a rough time. I got both of my men-at-arms in. And I got in my Warlord Theist Priest, who's over there. Use red. That's my color. My Warlord Theist Priest is over there, and his unit of Militia Bowmen, and then I got my 2 units of Men-at-Arms and Chapter Mages. So this turn was very much like, well, I have the huge card advantage. I don't care if he goes first. I'm just going to burn characters, basically, until he shows up and moves and gets in position, and then I'm going to actually do my activation. So, I drew a Chapter Mage. I then drew the second Chapter Mage. He moves, he draws his character, then he draws his Legionnaires who come on, because he's now eyeballing this zone over here and he wants to score, because I'm currently scoring this zone and I have a Theist Priest over here who's scoring that zone. That's 2 objectives taken, and then I'll get the bonuses, and that'll just be 6 points. That's really good. He's currently going to get 2 points. Not as good. So I'm really putting that scenario pressure on with this list, and that's what I was looking for when I was building it. Then my Men-at-Arms come up. They're this unit of Men-at-Arms is spread out like that is there to cover the Theist Priest, who's basically just going to sit in this zone for the rest of the game. And these Men-at-Arms and Chapter Mages are going to start, getting to about here. Chapter Mage is going to shoot. He's not going to like that. Maybe they'll get into charge into a fight. Just get in there. The second Chapter Mage and her Men-at-Arm unit is totally going for this zone. They're going to capture that, and then I've already thought that I'm going to put another unit of Steel Legion right behind them, so that once they die in this zone, because they're there up front, they're going to die, the unit of Steel Legion go in and just smack whatever got into a fight with them. My Merc crossbows on the left here they activated last, but before them, the Militia Bowman came onto the table to get that Theist Priest in the zone, and then the Theist Priest activated, and he put Blessed on this unit right here. And then this unit shot in. There was 5 stands down to 3, so they killed a stand, and then this unit shot in and did more damage. I did the take aim order and shot because I have the advantage here. I have no reason to go closer to him. I have no reason to give up units right now. I don't have any I don't need to use anything for a blocker for a setup later to get that side charge or anything like that. I can just shoot at him And even if he does next turn like march and then charge in to get into melee with these guys, I have a lot of options to just clear them off later. Like the Merc crossbows can shoot. Maybe the militia bowmen can see them. Probably not. The chapter mage in the middle here can have the men at arms twist and then spell in. So I have a lot of options. I have things to look at for here, and that Vanguard ability is really coming into effect because I am taking a lot of board space, and he's on the back foot because none of his reinforcements came on. So it's not looking very good for him. We, however, are going to be looking at turn 3. Turn 3. A lot has changed, and I want to talk about it. Because all my mediums and lights are in, I'm bringing my heavies on, and I'm automatically getting both of them on. So I get my free heavy on turn 3, and then my Imperial Officer has tier 3 tactical that gives him flank. So I just get both my Steel Legion units on, what's really nice for me. I spend the start of this kind of dead drawing characters, or I think I dead draw the Imperial Officer, and then I start kind of moving up because I'm really looking for like what's going on with his stuff. He does get some more mediums on, and he auto brings in his Varangian Guard heavy right there, and then he rolls a bunch of dice and gets some mediums on. So he's brought in his Archimandrite with his unit of Legionnaires, and then the sacrificial unit of Legionnaires who are there to just die. And I believe he casts a spell and just like offed one from the Hero Deacon. Myself, on the other hand, I move the Men-at-Arms up, and I believe, does my Chapter Mage cast a spell? I think my Chapter Mage, yeah, it totally does. So my Men-at-Arms kind of shimmy up a bit, not too far, and the reason for that is because I didn't want to get into a fight quickly, because I was still deciding where I wanted to put my 2 units of Steel Legion. And I actually hummed and hawed about this a lot, because I was looking at the Seek New Escort rules, I was looking at where my army was currently placed, and what they were doing at the time, and I was thinking of deploying, for sure, a unit in the middle, what the Imperial Officer is taking care of, and I was going to deploy another one over here, but the character I wanted to put into them was over here, as you can see. And he's moved up. But he's still within 3 inches of the zone, and he's still within Seek New Escort range of the Steel Legion. And also, as more things are coming, and more board spaces open up, this left side here has a lot of open board space and is going to be really good for a big block of Steel Legion to just occupy at some point. Same thing goes in the middle here with this other unit of Steel Legion, like I mentioned last turn. His Varangian Guard are coming, like he eventually deployed them, and these two guys are going to get into a fight, and then the Steel Legion can go just hit the Varangian Guard after. That's what's going on there. So yeah, on the right side, we kind of do a couple dead draws, and then I get into things. Or do I do draws? I do some dead draws after. Sorry, correction. Mercenary crossbows shoot into the Morrises. Do a bunch of damage. I then think this unit of mercenary crossbows shoots into them. They move up, but I believe I have the Men-at-Arms go, and that's why they're rotated. And they're rotated for my Chapter Mage to see the edge of the Morris, so I can just like wizard them to death because they were still around. Then I wanted them up 16 inches here, like so that, as you can see, like right there, just so that my Steel Legion can do their Vanguard march, and then their 2 marches for 16 inches. So 5 for the Vanguard, 5 for the first march, Vanguard for 6 because of the banner, so 16. On the right side here, my Theist Priest, he is still 3 inches from the zone, like from his stand, so he's good, still in there, doing what he needs to do, casting those buffs. I did put Blessed onto my Men-at-Arm unit, and it was like, yeah, there you go. Just in case, like, this Hero Deacon, like, decide to shoot at them, but that never happened, so, like, whatever. His Varangian Guard are still far away. I'm not in range from the Chapter Mage to the Varangian Guard. Maybe if I did a straighter march and went my full distance, I would have got there. But I was more concerned about killing the Morrises because they were so far forward, and I want to like establish that I am the threat to him and not he is the threat to me. Zero Deacon, comes on. He's scoring that zone. He's scoring that zone. That's really it for like the positioning and tacticals. Like we've been vying for position mostly through the game, and I'm in a stronger position with more resources and more units to choose from to deal with whatever's coming at me. One of the things I do have to worry about is that he could double march off this objective, then have his character go and like wizard this unit, and they're just a bunch of militia bowmen, so they'll probably just die, which will cause my Theist priest warlord to run off. But I'm planning to get him out of there kind of as quickly as possible. For points, last turn I scored another 6 points because I had both objectives. This turn my opponent scores 6 points because he has both these objectives, and I score another 6 because I score that one, and then the bonus 2, but also I have this third one in the. All right, that was the end of turn 3. Go have a look at turn 4. Okay, turn 4, a lot of stuff went on, and let me start explaining it. My opponent gets the rest of his units in, so he has his bone golems back here and his Praetorian with his auxiliarch coming in. He moved that unit of icon bearer legionnaires up and kind of on this hill in front of these guys so that his hero deacon couldn't get charged. And then I think he has his hero deacon go and like kill one to get the point. I go for it anyway with the men-at-arms to just like kill them, and then I have my chapter mage at some point just activate and just wizard his hero deacon unit. Then he just gets his hero deacon unit to come in and charge the men-at-arms, who they fight. I lose a stand. Whatever, not the end of the world. I believe before they went in, my priest over here on the right did cast Blessed and put Blessed up on the unit. I believe that's what that token was right there. That was really nice, rerolling defensive rolls, because I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, I'm going to get into a fight, so I didn't lose a ton. Still have 1, 2, 3 stands left. Like, yeah, that's good. But I am going to be hit by this Praetorian unit in a bit. They're going to slaughter this chapter mage, and that's going to be unit gone and then a character, so he's going to get points from the character right away. The militia bowmen actually changed from 1.15 to version 2, because before they were range 20, they're range like 24, and now they're range 16. And you're like, I thought they had longer range, but it's like, it's like a farmer. Like, okay. So that was kind of funny, but I do actually I shoot with them. Like, I could see with 2 stands, this stand right here, so I get those 2 guys to just shoot at him just for the extra plink damage. It's kind of funny, but like, yeah, I'll take it. In the middle here, I had my chapter mage go and shoot some fireball or fire darts at this Varangian guard unit. And then, my men-at-arms go and they just straightened out. Because I'll just sit here and keep shooting fireballs at you. Come to me. I have my Steel Legion in the back here, as you can see, just waiting to go. And if for some miracle the Varangian guard here die, Steel Legion can go get them. Or if there's enough of a gap, Steel Legion can go through and fight something else over here if need be, and they can just do whatever. Another one is that he just did a march charge from here to get in, but he only has 4 stands, and I have 5 stands. 5 stands here. 1 is a character, but it still counts. But then I have these 2 back stands in there, so I am scoring the zone. Also still scoring back here. My opponent is still scoring his zone over here, and he's still scoring that zone while I have my Steel Legion on the left here. I'm not talking about this side because this is kind of funny. So first thing that happens is these Merc crossbows are out of range of these Legionnaires over here. So they just move up their 5 and just take some shots in. These Merc crossbows right here are actually in range. Like, it's like just on the edge of 18. But these guys, because of the angle here, spread it out to like 19 and like 20 for the different stands. So they just take aim and just shoot. But before any of those guys go, the militia bowman, as you can see all by Mlosum here, ran up. And that was really just to get out of the way and also put that speed bump in his way. So he can either charge me with the Archimandrite and the Praetorians to kill them, and then maybe get in the way of the Bone Golems, or have like the Bone Golems have to kill them. But I don't care about the Militia Bowmen anymore. They've done their job. They delivered the Theist Priest to the Steel Legion and allowed me to buff that unit or units around me. Really nice. I've been finding Bless has been a lot of fun, just on like either range units, re-rolling those dice, or on defensive rolls. Like, it's really good ability just re-rolling. And if you're in a melee, I would recommend using Bless to re-roll your defensive rolls, unless you're just using it to like wipe out a unit and there's no follow-up onto you. And if you're a range unit, you want to use that Bless to like improve your volley to get more shots in. That's really about it. I can talk about the Steel Legion here. They just ran up from here to here, still scoring that zone. There's because like these stands are like 2.5, so these guys are butt to butt. So they're still scoring it, but this Steel Legion unit is totally ready to fight these Bone Golems and the Archimandrite, who's just bleeding stands just due to crossbow fire, and that's really nice for me. He is at Dart Power Tier 3, I believe, at the end of this, just because I've been picking away at stuff and killing things. So I am going to eat that, but not right away, because you're going to see a counterpunch happen at turn 5. So we should probably go look at turn 5. You're probably going to be excited to see what happens. Alright, turn 5. As you can see from the board state, a lot has happened. So what I did was, after we decided who goes first, I declared that this is going to be a supremacy turn for the Theist Priest, so he gets his Spirit Shrines. What if there is any spell that is cast upon him from a priest, so that means himself or the other priest, they affect every unit that has Devout. Well, I currently have Devout in both my Steel Legion, and I currently have Devout on both my Men-at-Arms. And those are the things that are going to be doing a lot of work, as well as Divine Sanction, providing +1 Cleave and Deadly Blade Souls units. And they force a duel, but it doesn't affect the characters in those stands. It just gives all the regiments like Cleave and Deadly Blades and doesn't force a duel. But if you cast Divine Sanction on your character, it gives your it only would give the character Cleave and Deadly Blades and then force a duel. So in this instance, like, I'm just spreading like a damage multiplier. So that happens. I believe he does go first, and he does get the Divine Sanction out basically right off the bat, because I want to start getting I have a bunch of fights. So Chapter Mages were back here with her unit of Men-at-Arms. The Ziliarch and his unit of Praetorians charge in and do a bunch of damage, but kills off a lot of guys, and then the Resolve like finish them off. They fight back, and my Chapter Mage fights this unit, but doesn't do anything. So like, what to do? Then my Men-at-Arms in the middle here activate, and they Deadly Blades fight the Varangian Guard, doing a bunch of damage, and then my Mage shoots at them. His Varangian Guard, I believe, get healed by the Archimandrite over here, but then my Chapter Mage goes and like fireballs them, and so they have like a little bit of chip damage in. And then the Varangian Guard like fight, kill, and then for a second action just like charge into this. And now my in my command deck, I left both units of Steel Legion at the bottom because I knew I was going to get a fight for sure with the Varangian Guard no matter what. I didn't know what this side was going to look like, and I was like, well, I got more cards, so I'm just going to draw him out and see what he does. Back to the right side here. Eventually, my Theist Priest with the Glimmer of Faith just like long bombs, blessed, so I just blessed all of them, and then my Militia Bowmen go and they just shoot at this unit. And that's why they're down to like just a stand left. Because I'm trying to get rid of them, as you can see. Like they're just getting like whittled down by shots. And at this point, like his Praetorian are gonna come in after and like kill this militia bowman unit. And I'm not really worried about that because this fight will happen, and you can already see that was resolved in my victory. But like I just swing these guys around and deal with it later. What else we got? We got our Merc crossbows. Merc crossbows, like these guys just take aim, shoot at them. These Merc crossbow, he then had his bone golems go. Like they just march, charge. I believe for his second spell in his Zilliarch, he just cast his what is his whatever like attack spell he has to just wipe out this unit, and then he just like shifted these guys around. Because he's trying to like get out, like not within range of my stuff, but also still scoring to keep up the pace of points because I've just wiped out a bunch of stuff and I'm scoring points left and right. He did kill my 2 men-at-arm units and my 2 chapter mages, so he did score 6 points for that. But he knows he's in a really rough punch because now all my hard hitters with buffs are coming in, and he's just been bleeding model like stands every turn until this point. But back to the bone golems do go in and do impact attacks into the Steel Legion. I activate my Merc crossbows, who then just shoot the bone golems for like 2 points of damage. Then this unit of Steel Legion goes. They take their Aura of Death, and I lose like 6 health. So like a stand's missing there, and 2 guys back there. Deadly Blades blast. They all do like a million attacks re-rolling. I do so much damage that I overkill the 3 bone golems, and they're just like, he's like, yeah, my evasion 1. I already made 3 saves. That was like 18 hits. They're dead, and he just like takes them off. For the unit with the Imperial Officer and his unit of Steel Legion, I'm like, all right, I've drawn my next cards to them, and he just like picked up the unit and just was like, they're dead. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, they're dead. I'm like, oh, okay. It's like, dude, you did so much damage over there. The writing was kind of on the wall for him because I'm just so far up on board presence and scoring. Because I think at this point I'm into like 27 points to his like 12. He does score 6 more points at the end of this game, going up to like 19 or something. Maybe he was at 14, so I guess he would 14, 13, so you get to 19. But well, we'll look at it after. But like I have such a high lead, and also now that he's lost his 2 heavy hitters, and I'm gonna have my 2 units of Steel Legion basically start going this way into whatever's left. Like he's not gonna have a good time at all. So we just call it there, and that's kind of how the game went. Like I really like this list and the opportunities of it. It has to score. It has a really good range presence, really providing those buffs. Has a lot of cards to just kind of like swap around and meet and just like stall out with. You do have to plan a bit of ahead to like where things are going and where things are going to go and how they're going to interact with stuff, because like if I have the priests going early on, I might not be doing enough damage and things might be dying, but I do have sacrificial roadblocks in the Merc crossbows, in the militia bowmen when the priest seeks new escort, and even the men-at-arms were roadblocks. But with the priest bonus, they actually had a bit of punch and kickback with that Cleave 1 and Deadly Blades. Because I know it did work against this Phrygian unit. They were 4 stands. Fire Mage, I believe, hit them for some damage. They got healed up. Then the men-at-arms go. They didn't have Blessed yet because the other mage didn't go, because I was kind of like, I just wanted to Cleave and Deadly Blades because I didn't know like what was gonna live, because I knew they were gonna die. So it was kind of like, kind of like hedging your bets. Like, oh, if I like draw the Theist priest, like the second 3 priests get blessed on everything, that'd be really good. But like, will I have anything left to get blessed? That's kind of like what you're playing with there. So a lot of times in my deck, it was like, because it's very asymmetrical, it was like mage, men-at-arms, men-at-arms, mage, Theist priest, militia bowman, Theist priest, Imperial Officer, Steel Legion. Like that was kind of like how my deck rotate it out, and depending on like where I was putting like those groupings of like mages and men at arms, or like Theist priests and militias, like we're swapping around. Sometimes I push a priest to the very top because I need him to go first, or sometimes I push a mage to go top because like they need to start shooting before they die. But like there was kind of like groupings of like what needed to be done in the deck itself as I played my turn and drew my command cards. For my opponent, he got screwed on turn 2 by getting only one medium in versus such a range / magic heavy list. Because I was allowed the opportunity to basically focus fire and pick off what I need to pick off before he could get to me and set the lines of engagement in my favor. When he did get everything when he did get everything on, I'd already set up like an established like, I'm going to shoot you, come to me. Like he's forced to because he's also down on scoring as well. From what I've kind of learned about Magic and such, it's actually pretty good. The problem what happens is, and it's kind of funny, is enemy interference. Like I had 4 casters in this list. I had 2 priests and 2 mages, so I had tons of 8-inch bubbles of enemy interference. So he's going for his 3s. He's trying to roll for 3s or less, and he's rolling for 2s or less. Except when I was casting onto him, all his stuff was by his Hero Deacon and his Archimandrite, so I was doing the same thing. So we're just like throwing crappy dice at each other, trying to do a bit of like whatever we got. I think that does change into enemy armies that don't rely as heavily on wizards. I think it'd be funny in, like when I get a Dweg game in next week. That'll be kind of funny, like because I do like this list. It did very well. There were some things, like the big thing in my favor was that he didn't get a ton of mediums on turn 2 because the majority of his list is medium. But just even still, like it played really well, it comboed really well, and I do like this list a lot. I'm gonna show you guys the score and kind of go through that, and that'll probably be after I wrap it up. So let's have a look at that. All right, here's the scoring. End of turn 5. We didn't go for very long because of my opponent conceding. These blank spots are for the 10s because it just goes from 1 to 9. So, there's 10, there's 10. So he got 16 at the end. In here I have 37. Like, gaining all those points from killing his stuff, gaining, like 9 points every turn, 2 for each objective, an extra 2 for controlling 2 or more, and then the 3. Like, really pushed me up. And then on top of that, just, like, murdering his stuff when it finally got to me. That wombo combo of like the priest with divine sanction and then glimmer of faith across the table to get blessed onto all my devout stuff is really good. As mentioned, like you do got to watch out about like when you are doing that, like what you're trying to like, you don't like, I don't know, kind of gets into like the mind games of Conquest and the command deck of like, okay, well, is he going to draw his character? Like, is he going to draw this unit that I want to get to first? So is he going to charge me before I charge him? Like, you kind of get into that back and forth. And sometimes you do got to take that risk of getting only, let's say, one of those 2 buffs off onto everyone and just going with it for a little bit before you get the second buff off. But having yourself set up to receive both buffs on, like, something really powerful, aka for me was the Steel Legion, really amped up their killing power while only getting 1 buff on the men at arms is fine, and I'd like to have both. It still did well and still killed stuff, like I got them to hit a little bit more above their weight class. Thanks for joining me with this Conquest Battle Report. I hope you're enjoying Bonk Table. I plan to do more of these. I just got a new mic to up my audio, so it doesn't sound like I'm skinning like a cat. God, that's just bad. I'm gonna keep that in. You're gonna hear that. I hope you enjoy that one. Yeah. Hope you enjoy, come back for next video. I don't know what it's gonna be about. Maybe it'll be 100 Kingdoms versus Nords, 100 Kingdoms versus Dweg. I I do plan to record videos that or not videos, but like record pictures and games that I watch, and maybe do a talk with or the two players after. I might invite some of the local players on to discuss their games that I've taken pictures of, so I can have more insight from them. I'm a 100k player, so I'm gonna focus on 100 kingdoms, but I would like to have some diversity and to see other factions versus other factions, because those matchups are going to be different, and it's more value to players to see how other things roll. Like, there's only so many like 100 kingdoms versus spires, 100 kingdoms versus nords, 100 kingdoms versus woodruin, 100 kingdoms versus od. Like, people want to see Dwag versus nords. Like, those are factions other people play and will play into each other, and they want to see how they go. Like, I want to give a big thanks. Like, this is growing, and I'm really excited for it. Join me next time, and have a great day. Bye.